The sixth book of Ovid's Metamorphoses. Tritonia, unto all these words attentive hearing bends, and both the Muses learned song, and rightful wrath commends. And thereupon within herself this fancy did arise, it is no matter for to praise, but let ourself devise something to be commended for, and let us not permit our majesty to be despised without revenging it. And therewithal she proposed to put the Lydian maid Arachne to her neck averse, who, as had to her been said, presumed to prefer herself before her noble grace in making cloth. This damsel was not famous for the place in which she dwelt, nor for her stock, but for her art. Her sire was Idmon, one of Colophon, a pelting purple deer. Her mother was deceased, but she was of the baser sort, and egal to her making birth in living and in port. But though this maid were meanly born, and dwelt but in a shed at little High Pep, yet her trade, her fame abroad did spread even all the Lydian cities through. To see her wondrous work, the nymphs that underneath the vines of shady Tmolus lurk, their vineyards oftentimes forsook. So did the nymphs also about Pactolus oftentimes their golden streams forego. And evermore it did them good, not only for to see her clothes already made, but while they each a-making be. Such grace was in her workmanship. For were it so that she the new-shorn fleeces from the sheep in bundles deftly makes, or afterward doth ken the same, and draws it out in flakes, along like clouds, or on the rock doth spin the hand-warp woof, or else embroidereth, certainly ye might perceive by proof she was of Pallas bringing up, which thing she natheless denieth, and disdaining such a mistress to confess. Let her contend with me, she said, and if she me amend, I will refuse no punishment the which she shall extend. Minerva took an old wives' shape, and made her hair seem grey, and with a staff her feebled limbs pretended for to stay. Which done, she thus began to speak. Not all that age doth bring we ought to shun, experience doth of long continuance spring. Despise not mine admonishment, seek fame and chief report for making cloth, and Aris woke and work among the mortal sort. But humbly give the goddess place, and pardon of her crave for these thine unadvised words. I warrant thou shalt have forgiveness if thou ask it her. Arachne bent her bruise, and lowering on her left her work, and hardly she eschews from flying in the lady's face. Her countenance did bewray her moody mind, which bursting forth in words she thus did say, Thou comest like a doting fool, thy wit is spent with years, thy life hath lasted over long, as by thy talk appears. And if thou any daughter have, or any daughter-in-law, I would she heard these words of mine. I am not such a daw, but that without thy teaching I can well enough advise myself, and lest thou shouldest think thy words in any wise avail, the self-same mind I keep with which I first begun. Why comes she not herself, I say, this match, why doth she shun? Then said the goddess, Here she is. And therewithal she cast her old wives' riven shape away, and showed herself at last Minerva-like. The nymphs did straight adore her majesty, so did the young new married wives that were of Mygdony. The maiden only, unabashed, would not at all relent, but yet she blushed, and suddenly a ruddiness besprent her cheeks, which wansed away again, even like as doth the sky look sanguine at the break of day, and turneth by and by to white at rising of the sun. As hot as any fire, she sticketh to her tackling still, and through fond desire of glory, to her own decay all headlong forth she runs. For Pallas now no longer warns, nay, now no longer shuns, nay, seeks the challenge to delay. Immediately they came and took their places severally, and in a several frame each strained a web, the warp whereof was fine. The web was tied upon a beam, between the warp a stay of reed did slide. The woof on sharpened pins was put betwixt the warp, and wrought with fingers, and as oft as they had through the warp it brought, they strake it with a boxen comb. Both twain of them made haste, and girding close for handsomeness their garments to the west, bestirred their cunning hands apace. Their earnestness was such as made them never think of pain. They weaved very much fine purple that was dyed entire, and colors set so trim that each in shadowing others seemed the very same with him, even like as after showers of rain, when Phoebus' broken beams do strike upon the clouds, appears a compassed bow of gleams, which lendeth over all heaven, wherein, although there shine 1,000 sundry colors, yet the shadowing is so fine, that look men near so wistly, yet beguileth it their eyes. So like, in even the self same thing, each color seems to rise, whereas they meet, which further off do differ more and more. Of glistering gold with silken thread was weaved their good store, and stories put in portraiture of things done long before. Minerva painted Athens town, and Marsus rock therein, and all the strife between herself and Neptune, who should win the honor for to give the name to that same noble town. In lofty thrones, on either side of Jove were settled down 6 peers of heaven, with countenance grave and full of majesty, and every one of them by his face discerned well might be. The image of the mighty Jove was king-like. She had made Neptunus standing striking with his long, threatened blade upon the ragged rock, and from the middle of the cliff she portrayed issuing out a horse, which was the noble gift for which he challenged to himself the naming of the town. She pictured out herself with shield, and morion on her crown, with curate on her breast, and spear in hand, with sharpened end. She makes the earth, the which her spear doth seem to strike, to send an olive tree with fruit thereon, and that the gods thereat did wonder, and with victory she finished up that plat. Yet, to thinketh examples old might make it to be known to her that for desire of praise so stoutly held her own, what guerdon she should hope to have for her attempt so mad, for like contentions in the 4 last corners she did add. The Thracians, Heme and Rhodope. To foremost corner had, who being sometime mortal folk, usurped up to them the name of Jove and Juno, and were turned to mountains for the same. A pygmy woman's piteous chance the second corner showed, whom Juno turned to a crane, because she was so lewd as for to stand at strife with her for beauty, charging her against her native country folk continual war to stir. The third had proud Antigone, who durst of pride contend in beauty with the wife of Jove, by whom she in the end was turned to a stork. No wood availed her the town of Troy, or that Laomedon her father wore a crown, but that she clad in feathers white, her lazy wings must flap, and with a bobbled bill bewail the cause of her mishap. The last had childless Cinyras, who being turned to stone, was pictured prostrate on the ground, and weeping all alone, and culling fast between his arms a temple's greases fine, to which his daughters' bodies were transformed by wrath divine. The utmost borders had a wreath of olive round about, and this is all the work the which Minerva portrayed out. For with the tree that she herself had made, but late afore she bound in her arras cloth, and then did work no more. The Lydian maiden in her web did portray to the full how Europa was by royal Jove beguiled in shape of bull, a swimming bull, a swelling sea. So lively she had wrought that bull in sea, in very deed he might them well have thought. The lady seemed looking back to landward, and to cry upon her women, and to fear the water sprinkling high, and shrinking up her fearful feet. She portrayed also there Asterie struggling with an Ernie, which did away her bear, and over Leda she had made a swan his wings display. She added also, how by Jove in shape of satyr gay, the fair Antiope with a pair of children was besped, and how he took Amphitryo's shape when in Alcamenus' bed. He gate the worthy Hercules, and how he also came to Danae like a shower of gold, to Aegina like a flame, a shepherd to Mnemosyne, and like a serpent sly to Proserpina. She also made Neptunus sleeping by upon a maid of Aeolus' race in likeness of a bull, and in the stream Enipeus' shape begetting on a troll the giants Otha and Asphalt, and in the shape of ram begetting one Theophany Basaltes, imp with lamb, and in a lusty stallion shape she made him covering there Dame Ceres with the yellow locks, and her whose golden hair was turned to crawling snakes, on whom he gate the winged horse. She made him in a dolphin shape, Melantho to enforce. Of all these things she missed not their proper shapes, nor yet the full and just resemblance of their places for to hit. In likeness of a country cloyne was Phoebus pictured there, and how he now wore a goshawk's wings and now a lion's hair, and how he in a shepherd's shape was practising a while the daughter of one Macari dame Isa to beguile, and how the fair Erigone by chance did suffer rape by Bacchus, who deceived her in likeness of a grape, and how that Saturna in the shape of Genet did beget the double Chiron. Round about the utmost verdage was set a narrow trail of pretty flowers with leaves of ivy fret. Not Pallas, no, nor Spite itself could any coral pick to her this her work, and that did touch Minerva to the quick, who thereupon did rend the cloth in pieces every whit, because the lewdness of the gods was blazed so in it. And with an Aris weaver's comb of box, she fiercely smit Arachne on the forehead full a dozen times and more. The maid impatient in her heart did stomach this so sore that by and by she hung herself. Howbeit, as she hang, Dame Pallas, pitying her estate, did stay her in the string from death, and said, Lewd Callet live, but hang thou still for me. And least hereafter from this curse, that time may set thee free, I will that this same punishment enacted firmly be, as well on thy posterity forever as on thee. And after when she should depart with juice of Hecate's flower, she sprinkled her. And by the poison had such power, that with the touch thereof her hair, her ears, and nose did fade. And very small it both her head and all her body made, instead of legs. To both her sides stick fingers long and fine, the rest is belly. From the which she ne'ertheless doth twine a slender thread, and practiseth in shape of spider still the spinners and websters' crafts of which she erst had skill. All Lydia did repine hereat, and of this deed the fame through Phrygia ran, and through the world was talking of the same. Before her marriage Niobe had knoweth her very well, when yet a maid in Meone and Sicily she did dwell. And yet Arachne's punishment at home before her eyes, to use discreeter kind of talk, it could her not advise, nor as behoveth to the gods to yield in humble wise, for many things did make her proud. But neither did the town the which her husband builded had, nor houses of renown of which they both descended were, nor yet the puissance of that great realm, wherein they reigned so much her mind and hands, although the liking of them all did greatly her delight, as the offspring of herself, and certainly she might have been of mothers counted well most happy, had she not so thought herself. For she whom sage Tiresias had begot the prophet Manto through instinct of heavenly power, did say these kind of words in open street, Yet Thebanes, go your way apace, and unto Laton and to Laton's children pray, and offer godly frankincense, and wreathe your hair with bay. Latona by the mouth of me commands you to do so. The Theban women, by and by obeying thereunto, decked all their heads with laurel leaves, as Manto did require, and praying with devout intent threw incense in the fire. Behold, out cometh Niobe, environed with a guard of servants and a solemn train that followed afterward. She was herself in raiment made of costly cloth of gold, of Phrygia fashion, very brave and gorgeous to behold. And of herself she was right fair and beautiful of face, but that her wrathful stomach did then somewhat stain her grace. She moving with her portly head her hair, the whiches then did hang on both her shoulders loose, did pause awhile, and when with lofty look her stately eyes she rolled had about. What madness is it, quoth she, to prefer the heavenly rout of whom ye do but hear, to such as daily are in sight? Or why should Laton honored be with altars, never white to my most sacred majesty did offer incense, if my father was that Tantalus, whom only is most fit the gods among them at their boards admit for to sit? A sister of the Pleiades, my mother. Finally, my grandsire on the mother's side is that same Atlas high that on his shoulders beareth up the heavenly axle tree. Again, my other grandfather is Jove, and as you see, he also is my father-in-law, wherein I glory may. The realm of Phrygia here at hand doth unto me obey. In Cadmus' palace I thereof the lady do remain, and jointly with my husband I as peerless princess reign. Both over this same town who walls my husband's heart did frame, and also over the folk and people in the same, in whatsoever corner of my house I cast mine eye. A world of riches and of goods I everywhere espy. Moreover, for the beauty, shape, and favour grown in me, right well I know I do deserve a goddess for to be. Besides all this, 7 sons I have, and daughters 7 likewise, by whom shall shortly son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws arise. Judge you now if that I have cause of stateliness or no. How dare ye then prefer me to Latono, that same pro of the Titan series imp, to whom then ready down to lie, the haughty earth a little plot to child on did deny. From heaven and earth and from the sea your goddess banished was, and as outcast through the world from place to place did pass, until that Delos, pitying her, said, Thou dost fleet on land, and I on sea, and thereupon did lend her out of hand a place unstable. Of 2 twins there brought a bed was she, and this is but the 7th part of the issue borne by me. Right happy am I, who can this deny, and shall so still continue, who doth doubt of that? Abundance hath and will preserve me. I am greater than that froward fortune may impeach me. For although she should pull my things away, yet should she leave me many more, my state is out of fear. Of these my houge and populous race surmise you, that it were possible some of them should miss, yet can I never be so spoiled, that no more than 2 shall tarry still with me. Leave quickly this lewd sacrifice, and put me off this bay that on your heads is wreathed thus. They laid it straightway, and left their holy rites undone, and closely as they may with secret whispering to themselves, to Laton they did pray. Thank you for letting me read to you. Please check my channel page. Please check the description for where to buy my art, the channel page for where to send me a one-time donation. And please check out my movie, Salome's Last Prance. It's my most recent download. It's based on Oscar Wilde's Salome. It's an audiovisual thing. Go check it out, check it out, check it out, and I will see you tomorrow.